What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a great day. As you can already tell right off the bat, this is a little bit different of a video. What I'm going to be doing is showing you my YouTube studio. So all the equipment in the background, how I set up my shot. That way, if you guys are designing your own studio, or if you want to get some insight on how to start, you can see kind of what I've done, the things I learned and the tricks along the way. That way you can take away and use these things that I've done and learn from them. So let's get started with the tour. So this is my YouTube studio. I have a condominium. We're in the upstairs spare bedroom. So I designated this space specifically as my rec room, but the second half of it is actually going to be my studio. So, you can see that half of it has like a chair, kind of like where I relax, play video games, and the other half is actually where I film my videos for YouTube. So one of the things, guys, that I've done purposely with this room is that I actually put in dark out, blackout shades or curtains. So that way I can easily close the windows and block all the light from coming in. That way I can completely control the light in my scene. I can light it using professional video lights, which I'll go over in a few minutes. But this way, you can really control the luminance and block any light, because if you use daylight, if the daylight changes throughout the day, as it just happened earlier in this video while I was shooting with these open, the luminance will change and you'll have to adjust your camera settings, and your video won't look consistent. So I highly recommend trying to find a way or like a controlled environment. Alright guys, so I'm next to my wall, and the reason I wanted to point this out is because I didn't think about this before I did my YouTube studio. Like I said earlier, this was supposed to be my rec room. So if I had thought about it a little earlier, I wouldn't have chosen a semi-gloss as the wall, because as you can see here, there's a lot of reflection. So, in designing the space, it was really troublesome trying to light it correctly, trying to not make the walls have a lot of light reflections on them. So, shadows show up, the speculars and the lighting show up. So if I had to redo this, I'd use probably like a matte paint or something else that isn't as reflective. So if you have the option, I really recommend doing that. Go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or wherever you get your paint. I think I went to Walmart, so that's something to consider. All right, so you guys probably have seen this in the background. It's my lava lamp. This just adds some extra decor in the background, some subtle lightness, and of course we got R2-D2. You gotta have that in here. So the other thing I wanted to mention when designating a space for filming is you want to make sure it's in a quiet location. So like I said earlier, this is in a spare bedroom. It's an area where I can always come back and film in, and it's just a nice quiet space. And the other thing you'll notice here, I'll cut to some B-roll, is I try to create a lot of depth between me sitting at the table and then the background. So creating this depth kind of makes it a little bit more real. And by creating more depth, you can control the lighting a lot more. You have more control over the backlighting, the key lighting, and it just kind of gives your overall image a nicer, more professional look. If you look at a lot of my older YouTube video tutorials, you'll notice I was at my desk and it kind of looked a little bit cluttered. There wasn't as much depth to it. It was pretty flat and cluttery. So that's why I kind of switched it up and came in here to do this. Alright guys, so one of the first things you'll notice in my YouTube space that's new is I added a GoPro. So you can see an overhang GoPro I added, and this will be featured actually in an upcoming video where I showcase an unboxing of the new light kit that I just purchased. So this GoPro setup like this is a really good way to add a different camera angle to your scene, especially if you're doing unboxings or some type of thing where you're doing something on a desk and you want an overhang angle. If you are considering a GoPro, I actually made a video comparing the old GoPro 3 Plus that I have, comparing it to the Hero 9. So if you're wondering what GoPro to use, whether to get the new one or maybe invest in like an older one, feel free to check that video out. I'll link it right up here. Feel free to go watch that and get some insights on that. All right, so yeah, this is where the magic happens. So that's kind of the overview of my desk space, the different background, the walls and stuff, but this is where it all happens. So now you guys kind of see what's outside of the frame. And so now that we're talking about inside the frame, it really all starts with the camera. And you know, the camera is about 3 feet from me. That way I can easily do my intro thing where I cover the lens, pull it back and go, whew, what's up guys? So feel free to drop a comment. Do you guys like that or do you not like that? Well, if you don't like it, you're stuck with it. So when it comes to the camera, I'm shooting on the Lumix G85 and I have a pretty solid tripod. And I think a really decent tripod is important, especially if I wiggle the table or I'm doing a tutorial or something, I accidentally bump the tripod. The tripod I have, I'll link it down in the video description. It's pretty solid, and you know, if I bump it, the camera's not going to shake. So it's definitely a good thing to consider if you are planning to build your own YouTube studio. And obviously this would be nothing without the lighting, so we have to talk about the lighting. And if you tune in next week, you'll see my lighting review of the new lighting kit I just bought called the Newer 480 LED lighting kit. I'll link it down in the video description as with all of these pieces of equipment. But I have a key light here that's shining on me, and I also have a small fill light that's kind of up above, just adding some fill to it, as well as the background lights as you saw when I walked in. So the rim lights, so I got a blue rim light hitting me on this shoulder, and then there's a light hitting the back wall here that's lighting that up. Alright guys, so when talking about lighting, one other thing that I added is a reflector, but I actually used the black side. So if you notice, here is the black part of the reflector, and what's really nice about the black is what black reflectors do is they basically absorb light. So when the light comes off the key and hits this, it doesn't reflect back onto my shoulder. So if you look at this clip here, you can see that the left part of the image is pretty dark. And this was on purpose because of this guy. So if I wanted more light, I would probably reverse it, do white or the reflection, or I would get rid of it completely because black absorbs light. So that's a good trick if you are looking to kind of eliminate light in a scene that you're lighting. And then there's audio. So for audio, I'm using this microphone right next to me. It works pretty good. I tried a few different things when it comes to audio, lavaliers, onboard microphone. This is the closest and pretty much the crispiness type of audio that I think I'm going to really get. So the only other recommendation other than this I'd probably get in the future might be like an overhang Rode mic or whatnot to really, you know, get it off the screen and have a more professional look. But for most cases this is good as long as I don't, like, you know, talk this way. You can hear me when I'm talking this way, when I'm doing tutorials, or when I'm talking to the camera. So this has worked. And then the recorder is the Zoom H4n Pro, which is a pretty decent recorder. My only problem with it really is that it takes a while for it to format. So that's really the only drawback with it. Sometimes the menu options is a little slow, but as far as input goes, it's a really solid audio recorder. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video about showing, you know, my YouTube studio. Hope you learned some things. You know, if you have any questions or, you know, if you are building your own YouTube studio, feel free to drop comments below. I'll be looking out to them. Feel free to drop them and I will answer any questions that I can. As I mentioned, you know, all the equipment that I mentioned here in today's video is down in the video description below. Feel free to check them out. You don't have to buy the exact thing, but this could give you some ideas if you are looking to design your own studio. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.